Greetings and welcome to another edition of the most powerful platform for truth, bar none, anywhere on God's green earth. This is your platform for education, edification, and empowerment. This is the Red Pill Diaries, and I'm your host, your brother, and your friend, Rashid. Greetings, everyone, and I want to thank each and every one of you for giving me a little bit of your time today as we talk about some of the latest news, and we pick it apart, pick it to pieces, go into it, and just look at some of the stuff that is being said. Okay, this is a deep dive into the latest news. Now, part of this we're trying to keep it. Let's see. I'm trying to see something on my screen real quick. Boom, boom, boom. That is. Hey, which one of these is Patreon? Oh, okay. I see. Yeah. I want to thank each and every one of you. I'm trying to see, my son is the tech guy behind the scene, and he was showing me something. But anyway, we got to talk about a few things, man. I listened to the news yesterday, and I don't know how people get their understanding about things. I continue to hear people talk about Zelensky as if Zelensky is making the decisions, and it just stuns me that people still they want to give the West the benefit of the doubt. I don't care what is going on. Everything is put on Zelensky. Everything. You know how they do everything to Putin. Putin this, Putin that, Putin's army. As if Putin is an island unto himself and that he has his own army. He has his own this and his own that. He is a representative of the people of the Russian Federation. Putin has people he has to answer to. He has an electoral base that he has to answer to. He has supporters that he has to answer to. He has an entire nation that he has to answer to. But it's Putin's army. It's Putin's war. Nobody says that about Joe Biden's selective wars that he chooses to escalate or whatever. Nobody says that about Obama or Trump's wars. People say, well, no wars were started under Trump. The hell you say? What you mean? Didn't they escalate in Syria? Well, he didn't start the war. He sure didn't stop it. Well, he wanted to stop it. Did he stop it? What did George Bush say? The buck stops here, right? Accountability is in the office, the Oval Office, right? Right? You're supposed to be able to give out an order, and it's supposed to go into place. If not, you remove the people who disobeyed the order. Because if they don't follow orders, what you have is disorder. Look at Joe Biden. And let me go back to Trump for a second. He didn't start a war. What do you think the assassination of the second most powerful and most influential person in Iran was? You just think right now, out of the blue, the United States is escalating through Israel against Hezbollah, Hamas, Iran? That's just happening out of the blue. Huh? You don't think none of that is connected to the assassination of Soleimani? You don't think none of that is connected to the assassination of Rafik Hariri? Huh? None of that is connected. The influx of terrorists that was coming through the Jordanian and the Israeli and the Turkish borders, flooding Syria, so that they could try to depose Assad because Assad refused to kick Russia out of its naval facilities, and because Assad refused to be a part of that pipeline that America had just sent, Ambassador Ford over there to try to bribe Assad. And when Assad refused, all of a sudden, months later, you have this so-called rebellion. None of that is connected, huh? It just happens out of the blue. Just like they want you to believe that the war started 2 years ago in Ukraine. They don't tell you about the overthrow of the legitimate and elected government, even though he may have been corrupt. He was their corrupt leader that they chose to put in office, and that's Viktor Yanukovych. They don't tell you about the years that built up to the Maidan. They don't tell you about all the times when Putin got into office, he warned the West that they were exceeding the limits of what Russia could allow. even in its weakened state as a former global superpower. Vladimir Putin was trying to consolidate the ranks of Russia so that because he saw what was going on. He gave multiple speeches over the years when he took office about how NATO continues to exceed the limits. And so he put a filler out there for the Western world and say, hey, let Russia join NATO. And when they refused to, because it's supposed to be a defensive alliance, right? He understood that NATO would stop at nothing in balkanizing Russia. They wanted Russia. Hillary Clinton said it. Before Hillary Clinton ever uttered a word, that was one of the main plans of Zbigniew Brzezinski. And who was Zbigniew Brzezinski? He was the national security advisor. First of all, he was Obama's teacher. And when I say teacher, mentor. These things don't happen by chance. Zbigniew Brzezinski was Jimmy Carter's national security advisor. Hold on. That has nothing to do with 9/11. So the Taliban sitting up in the Oval Office with Ronnie Reagan. And Ronnie is discussing a pipeline going from Afghanistan westward that would be a catalyst to bypass the former Soviet Union and to bring in revenue to the CIA. That has nothing to do with it. All of these things are happening in voids. You understand? All of this stuff is a byproduct of previous policies, just like we see the decline of the dollar. All of that is a byproduct. People say, well, the 2008, the 2010, the 2015 crisis. What about the 2002 crisis? What about the 80s crisis? What about the 90s crisis? What about the 80s crisis? What about 71 when Richard Nixon took the world off the gold and silver standard? Oh, that's the beginning of all problems. No. What about prior to that when he took started robbing the silver, when the president started robbing the silver content out of the coins in the 60s? What about when they came up with the Federal Reserve from 1914 or 1917, excuse me. I think it's 1914. They started robbing the dollar of its value. The dollar has lost 98% of its value since then. We're living in the aftermath of the policies of the lunatics. Yeah, there's still lunatics in power. And they're there to make sure that the rest of the policy is guided through without a hitch. 98% of the purchasing power of the dollar has been eroded since the Federal Reserve. That's an accident. That was an accident that Roosevelt took for a minute, defaulted on the debt, the U.S. debt, when he took the gold from the people of America, right? As collateral. You don't think that all of this stuff plays a part of what's going on around the world, about the belligerent policy of the United States? I want to share something with you. Since we're on this about the dollar's collapse, we'll play a couple of clips shortly, okay, about the decline of the dollar. This is the main reason why the world is in a tailspin. America has lost her position. She has lost her way. And you have lunatics that have steered the course, are hell-bent on domination at all costs. They're willing, as you can see, to take the world to war. I remember years ago, I was telling you guys that they're preparing for nuclear war. Everybody, no, they wouldn't do that. I said, listen, why wouldn't they do it? They've already dropped not one, but 2 atomic bombs. You telling me that they're not prepared to drop 3 or 4? Hell, when you drop 1, the floodgates is open. These people, it's a continuation of the lunatic policy of the berserker people in power. These people want power. They love power. It's an aphrodisiac to them. They cannot stand for the little man or the middleman or the little woman or the middle woman to have influence, to have say or sway over anything. They want total power, total obeisance. And if they cannot rule, they're willing to take the world to thermonuclear war and if they can, in life. Because in their mind, if I can't rule, I'm killing everybody. To prove my point, if that is not the case, then why is America antagonizing the largest global nuclear power on planet Earth? If that is not the case, then why is America antagonizing the greatest economic power on planet Earth? If that is not the issue, then why is America waging war on everybody and then claiming that everybody is belligerent and coming against the world order? And here's the kicker. If that is not the something sound and reasonable, then why the hell does she brag about having enough? She's taking the time, made the effort to not only research, to not only to not only build, but then to stockpile enough destructive material to destroy the earth, not one time, not two times, not even three times, but 30 times over. That's a lunatic. Because if you destroy the earth, where the hell are you going to stay? Because you can't stay on Mars or Venus. These people are lunatics. Think about this. All of this stuff is interconnected. Lunatics. I'm going to destroy the world. And listen, to show you that these people are crazy, right? They pull out of the international nuclear treaties, right? And then they say, we're going to resume nuclear testing. Then they say, we're going to build up a greater nuclear deterrent. What the hell do you mean? Now this is chest thumping. Because once you've built up a certain amount of nuclear weapons, the others are redundant. This is chest thumping. All it takes is a few. But you want everybody to think that I have the biggest, all that stuff. That's that, those hormones and testosterone going through your chest because you are afraid that somebody else may surpass you in the amount of nuclear weapons. It doesn't take 1,000 to destroy the world. But you got a stockpile of thousands. And you're telling me you don't believe that these people have the will and the wherewithal to put that in action? If you don't, then why the hell are they provoking a nation that has already intimated openly that if the survival of their nation is at risk, be it nuclear or conventional threats, they will take the necessary steps, including going nuclear, to preserve the state's security. Those are not lunatic policies to push a nation like that. It's all about domination. And how does America dominate? How does she get her influence in trade? How does she maintain her influence on the political scene? How does she maintain her influence globally? How, even more than that, how does she maintain her relevance? Because she's losing technologically. She's in a congressional hearing. They have admitted that they have fallen behind in shipbuilding to China. China has the fastest supercomputer in the world. They have admitted that they have fallen behind China in certain technologies and warships. They have fallen behind China and Russia in production. They have fallen behind Russia and China in hypersonic technology. And they're not 1 year behind, they're at least 15 years behind. In a nation or a state that invests over $1 trillion a year, they have fallen behind, and now they're threatening to invest another $1 trillion a year to try to catch up and maintain. Man, this is lunatic. Lunatic policies. Let me give a shout out first as we continue to address this, because we're going to deep dive into some stuff. I'm going to talk to you about things that are off limits. I don't care if YouTube suspend me, because we got other platforms now. We're on BitChute now. We're on Rumble now, Odyssey now, Locals now. We're on Twitch now. We're on Twitter now. I really don't care if they do it. All right. Let me give a shout out to Perseverance Chameleon is in the building. Joel Bradford, shout out to Joel Bradford, my guy. All right here. Okay, right here. There it is. Let me go down. I might mess your name up. I'm sorry. Dolan Duckett. Right. I don't think the U.S. Let me highlight this. First, let me highlight Joel. Joel says Putin give his final warning. Let's see what these maniacs in the West do. Hey, look. That is never going to stop the U.S. Do it, whatever you're going to do. That's never going to stop the U.S. And my son is rebooting one of the computers. When I did a show the other day, we was hit with a massive virus. That's a brand new computer. That lets you know that these, I don't know that. See if you can pull it up. We're trying to reset something, so that'll be what's going on. So if you see me looking this way right here, we're trying to reset something. I don't know that. We got to go back to that. Excuse me. These lunatics are prepared to take everybody down with them. And I got to go back to something Joel said before I go to the next one. Putin gave his final warning. Let's see what these maniacs do in the West. Now, what they're going to try to do is buy time until they can get an advantage or become equal on the playing field. That's what they're going to do. They're going to. I've been telling you guys this for the longest. Go back and check my track record. Now everybody's talking about they believe that the conflagration will happen first in the Middle East, the North African area. I've been saying that for years. That's why I named it the MENA region, Middle Eastern North African region, and I told everybody right now what we'll see is the bubbling of tensions in Europe. But the main war will transpire in North Africa and the Middle East. I said it will go regional because Israel will not yield. And America needs Israel, and Britain needs Israel, and France needs Israel there. And I say that that this thing will explode. I've been saying it. Go back and look at the shows from a year ago, 2 years ago. Go look. I've been saying it, and now everybody else is saying it. This little channel, I keep telling you guys, this little channel is your favorite channel. Okay? It is. Let's go to something. Dolan Duckett. Shout out to you. Right. I don't think the U.S. won't learn anything until real pain is felt. This is what we call a boom, a mic drop moment from Dolan. That's right. When does, if you continue to yield territory, if you continue to yield influence, if you continue to yield more and more to threats and the bully, what do you think the bully would do? If he took $5 from you today, what do you think he's going to take from you tomorrow? Huh? And then every day he'll make mock of you. He'll take more. He'll take more. He'll take more. Right? Until he just takes your manhood completely. That's what America's used to doing. But the problem is we're not living in 25 years ago in reference to America. She's not the global hegemon that she was 25 years ago. And these nations that were behind her in technology and trade and politics and commerce are either on close to catching up or caught up or surpassed her. And this is what's driving the hegemon crazy. This is what's going on. And so she's now levying more sanctions on the global economic superpower, which is China. She's doing everything that she can to try to grasp at these little straws in their mind to try to maintain her position as number one. Think about this. If these people are not lunatics, why do they always reference China challenging American dominance, Russia challenging American dominance, Venezuela, Burkina Faso, Iran, Syria, challenging American dominance. Nobody takes the time out and say, who gave you the God-given right to dominate? And why should it be different if I surpass you? Why are you taking it so personal? Why are you butthurt? We weren't hurt when you were doing what you were doing for decades upon decades upon decades. And why are you in your feelings now that we have mustered up enough understanding, that we have mustered up enough testicular fortitude to build up industry, to play by the unfair rules of your world order and catch up to you? Why must you dominate in the Middle East? Why do you have to dominate and have a whole Western world to yourself while causing pain and problems and strife in the other half of the world? Why is that okay? But it's not okay for China to be the supreme power in its neighborhood. You have to dominate that. Russia can't have a sphere of influence in the former Soviet Union. These are sister and brother nations to Russia, and Russia is not allowed to have a sphere of influence with its own brothers, even the Slavic brothers of it. It can't have that, but NATO can expand. The terrorist organization of NATO, under the auspices of America, has the right to expand. Why don't anybody question that? Do you hear any of these people talking about that? And if not, why? Because if they know this and they don't address this, then they must have some type of vested interest in the system being maintained the way it is for sake of advantage. Right? Shout out to Mehdi. My guy Mehdi is the building. Shout out to Mehdi. Mehdi says, oh, Dolan, I see your donation. I want to really, really thank you. Hold on one second. Russian naval vessels off the shores of Cuba have the ability to strike U.S. targets with conventional or nuclear means. Absolutely. See, this is a cheaper way than setting up military bases over the world. See what Russia did is bide its time and went asymmetrical. If we build up these military bases, it's going to cost us a lot of money. Why won't we just invest in the ports of these other nations that are tired of America antagonizing them? That way we can make port calls to refuel. Russia is now building a base in Africa, right? It's not a permanent military base, but it is a refueling hub, because under American and NATO pressure, they are now blocking resupply of Russian naval vessels around the world, doing port visits and stuff. Do you know that? Do some of you know that? That is to limit Russia's naval reach. When you put that in conjunction with her expansion in NATO up to Russia's border, you put that with her trying to destabilize North Korea so the government can collapse, so that the South, which is a puppet government under the U.S., can then intervene and take over. When you put that with the buildup of naval facilities in Japan and the buildup of terrorist organizations throughout West Asia and Central Asia, this has all the makings of a process to surround, neuter, and then attack Russia, China, India, and Pakistan and Iran. That's what that is for. Because they're trying to limit, they believe that they can take out enough of Russia's nuclear arsenal with a first strike that they won't suffer in the process. Man, these people are lunatics, I'm telling you this. So let's go to my guy. My guy, appreciate the super chat. Dolan Duckett is in the building. Thank you, sir. Salute to you. Keep up the great work. $5 super chat. Imp Sparks is in the building. Shalom. Salute. That's what he says. Peace unto you too. Mehdi says, yeah, Mehdi, I'm glad you brought this point up. The U.S. just decommissioned 17 naval vessels due to the lack of crews. Even if we build new vessels, we have no one to man them. And now, listen, where are you going to get the money to build it? Because you're antagonizing your largest financer. And without your largest financer, the gig is up. You have to show the people the funny money bookkeeping of how you're buying your own heroin, how the Fed is printing money, right? And then the U.S. is buying its own debt. then the gig is up. So okay, so with all that said, those are recipes for the collapse of the world order, right? Right? I'm telling you this on what Mehdi says. Also, there was something that that didn't make the rounds too much. That recently, the last few, in China concluded a major naval exercise, and the exercise took place in the Sea of Japan, and the surrounding territorial waters with over 400 warships. I say that again. That was a lot of warships. And you don't think the United States saw that demonstration of power? With over 90,000 sailors, airmen, and Marines. And they just so happened to make a trip around the area where one of the U.S. bases was located. And after the war games concluded, they sent a combined team of Chinese and Russian bombers to carry out normal strategic partnership flights. And that happened while Russia sent warplanes and bombers in what America deemed as its exclusive economic zone off its west coast. You don't think that people are sending each other messages? This is what militaries do to convey messages to the other person, and it's over the heads of most of the average people. Huh? Oh, man. Betty also says, and we're going to get down here a little bit. Oh, man. Betty says, we are at least 2 generations behind EW and missile technology. Yeah, electronic warfare, yeah. And it says ISW even admitted this in 2018. Yeah, but think about that was 2018. We're close to 2025, and think about how more we have fallen behind. And yet we want to poke the bear. We want to spit on the dragon. If this is not lunatic, we don't have any adults. Now check this out. Common sense. This is what common sense does for a person. It makes a person survey the surrounding, right? And try to come up with a solution to the problem that it is going through right there. So if you are in need of, let's say, $300, and there's no other way for you to get it, and you think, well, if I go rob this guy, there's consequence. I don't really want to rob the guy, but if I rob the guy, and if I can get away with it, I can go pay the bill. You know how hustlers do. You know how drug addicts do. They're not thinking about the consequences of the policies in their head. In their mind, is rational, right? In their mind, they are rationalizing being crooks and criminals and creating mayhem. They don't think about, well, what if the person refuses to give me the money? I might have to shoot the person. So you're going to kill that person over the money that they made because you were too lazy or did not have enough God in yourself to bring forth that which you needed. That is the mind of the Western leadership. If I can't do this, I can't. So I'm going to take that. Right? That is the rationale for everything. And then when the victim fights back, the victim becomes an insurgent, a terrorist, right? A dictator, a regime, a tyrant. It's not the one initiating the violence, the overthrow, the destabilization, the color revolution. No, it's good because we're doing it in the name of democracy and freedom. It's the people who are fighting against your imposition of your policy on them. They become the tyrants and dictators. Only in Bizarro world. Only in Bizarro world. But if anything happens to you in such a manner, it's unacceptable. Look at what happens. America took the world to the brink of nuclear war, right? Because she put those Pershing cruise missiles in Turkey and in Germany, which she knew that could strike Moscow, right? And it was a threat because it could hit St. Petersburg quickly. I'm talking about the Cuban Missile Crisis for those of you who are listening, right? And so when Russia said, okay, this is unacceptable. So Russia put nuclear weapons in Cuba. And then Kennedy embargoed Cuba where no ships can come in or out until Russia would remove those nuclear weapons. And Kennedy said they cannot stand there or we're going to have to attack. Now, I want you to understand something. The United States installed what they call interceptor missiles 90 miles from Russia's border. I'm talking about, this is recent. 90 miles. Cuba is 105 to 109 miles away from the tip of Florida. Russia put nuclear missiles in Cuba over 100 miles away, and that's unacceptable. But the United States is doing war games 30 miles from Russia's border, and they have put interceptor missiles on Russia's border 90 miles away from Russia. That's acceptable. And Russia shouldn't have a say in that. Russia shouldn't have a say in that. But how dare Russia puts missiles 105 miles away? Do you see? The rules apply to thee, but not for me. There can be no growth, no peace and stability until the peace breaker has been removed from power. And that's what's happening. All of the problems that America is suffering, she created herself through arrogance, through sheer lunacy, and through imperial hubris. Right? Let's see. He said, we win if we playing, if the playing field is even. That's right. Now look, the dollar. Back to that dollar. We're going to talk about that dollar in a minute, and I'm going to come back to that. I'm going to try to come back to that point right there in a second, because it'll remind me to go back to that dollar. Let me go down. Oh, okay. Dolan said I said his name correct. All right. Appreciate that. Let's see. Perseverance Chameleon says that the West is playing chicken with the Russians to see who will break first. Absolutely. But the problem is, this game that they played, see, they played it before. And at the time, America was an industrial power. America was an economic power. She was a political juggernaut. And on top of that, she had a military to match. Those days are long gone. None of that applies today. She no longer has the largest army in the world. That's China. She no longer has the largest navy in the world. That's China. She no longer, at the end of this year or the first part of next year, according to all estimates, she will no longer have the largest air force in the world. That will be China. She no longer has the clout that she has. It's the BRICS. She no longer has the economic clout that she has. That's China. She no longer reigns supreme in technology. That's the East. And she no longer is the global economic power. That's China. So these people who are implementing these policies are implementing outdated policies, outdated assessments to try to maintain sway. They're still viewing themselves as the hegemon. And also, I want to advance a thought to you all. One of the main reasons that America, the UK, and the West continues with this belligerent act, because a lot of it is an act, is because bullies sometimes are afraid of their prey, but they have to show some type of confidence. They have to bluff their way around. Like they're bluffing economically with the dollar, right? They're bluffing. The dollar has no sound backing. The dollar has lost 98% of its value. They're bluffing with it. They're bluffing politically. Oh, we want to stop the violence we want to stop the violence in Palestine, while supplying 50 shipments of hundreds of tons of weapons, thousands of tons of weapons on each shipment. So they want to stop it, yet they've given it the political cover. Not one U.S. media outlet is condemning the massacre of innocent life. But if you take one Israeli life, it's everywhere. Those are terrorists, extremists, Islamists. They're violent. They're hell-bent on Israel's destruction. Now, Israel is bumming everybody at will. She was losing in Gaza, so she positioned to the West Bank. She's losing in the West Bank, so then she goes and bombs Syria. Syria shoots down an F-16 that they didn't put on the news. Bet you didn't know that, did you? Syria downs an F-16. So the bombing stops for a minute. Then they turn their eyes to Lebanon. All of that can be traced back to Rafik Hariri. He was a pawn, a billionaire, corrupt to hell. He was a pawn. He was a billionaire, but he was their pawn, their billionaire. And when he used up his usefulness to the West, they assassinated him, and they used his death as a rallying cry to remove Syria's air defenses, Syria's troops, and Syria's military buildup in Lebanon, so that Israel will have free reign over Lebanese skies. And then after this took place, the pressure that's pressure from his southern flank. That's from and its southeastern flank, right? Then they put pressure on Jordan. That's its eastern flank. Then through Turkey, they flooded Syria with terrorists through its northern flank. This could not have been possible had Syria stayed in Lebanon, because Israel, those flights over Lebanon would not have taken place, and now Israel bombs with impunity. You understand? All of this stuff I continue to tell you is interconnected. It just didn't happen. This stuff didn't just happen in an occupied Palestine on October the 7th. What about all of the UN mandates that were ignored by Israel? What about all of the bombing campaigns and the assassination of innocent children and women? The assassination of academics all across the Middle East. The West wants you to believe. Hey, where's the cat? I hear my cat around here. The West wants you to believe that all of this started when they want you to see that it started, so it can justify their belligerence, their violence, their mad dash for total domination. But it didn't happen. Let's see. Man, this thing is jumping. I'm sorry, I'm gonna try to scroll back up. This thing is jumping. Hold on. I'm trying to pull it back up. I'm sorry, everybody. This thing is crazy. Medi says, yup. And I know it jumped past a few comments. I'm gonna try to go back to them. Hold on one second. Medi says, yup. NATO knew as far back as 1983 that NATO ground forces would eventually resort to demonstrating nukes to strike Russian battle groups flowing through the Fulda Gap. Yeah. So, shout out. Thank you, Dolan. Thank you so much. New channel member, salute. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate that. Let's go, Medi. It says, Medi says, I have the images of the documents. If anyone would like to see it, I would like to see them. You know, I'm a book connoisseur. I'm a historical connoisseur. It says, it is NATO's own study. Let's see. Man, this thing is jumping. I'm sorry, everybody. I'm gonna come back to it. God dog it. I'm not. Hey, everybody, listen. I'm not skipping anything, but it's jumping. I'm gonna give it a second, and maybe it'll catch up, and we'll discuss some things. Okay, let me get to something. So, oh man, we're gonna do this a little bit longer on YouTube, Rumble, Odyssey, and Twitter, okay? And then we're gonna and Twitch, I'm sorry, and then we're gonna go over to Patreon and finish this out. It's gonna be free, so don't worry about it. Just go over there and sign up as a free member right now. And when we end it, on YouTube. You'll be able to. We'll continue on. Okay, so don't worry about that. I'm not charging you. Go over there and subscribe to the Patreon. Listen, there's so much that is left out that you can't really see the big picture. This is why I tell you I'm a little dots guy. I look at the dots, and as you know, when you're a kid, when you're in elementary school, well, they used to do it. I don't know how they do it nowadays. But when you're in elementary school, they give you these printouts of pictures. And sometimes you can't see what the picture is because there's nothing but dots. And they ask you to connect the dots. Some people connect some of the dots. And you get a little bit of the picture. But what I try to do is go into this stuff to connect all of the dots so that you can be empowered. And even if it's against me, or even if it's against what I held as truth to me, I'm going to give you that so that you can make up your own decision, because we're all individuals and we need as much information as possible to empower ourselves to keep from falling into the snares that are laid out here by these beasts in human form. Okay? So listen, there's something. Let me go back to this. Go back to my panel real quick. I want you to listen to something. All right? And I got some videos I was going to play now, but when I looked at the time, we were supposed to do about 40 minutes on YouTube, but we're going to do a little bit more. I got some videos that I want to play to you all, and I want to explain something to you so that YouTube doesn't kick us off. So we'll be over on Patreon. I want to explain to you guys something about why things are taking place. And I want the videos. They're going to be talking about Biden. It's going to be talking about Trump. It's going to be talking about the lunatics of the government. We're going to let them talk about it, okay? And it's going to put what you see in the Middle East and what you see in the Caucasus and in the Black Sea area and what you see in Asia and in Africa and Latin America is going to put it in a better perspective. You'll understand more why America is doing what she's doing. You'll understand more why NATO is hell-bent on not just expanding up to Russia's border, but balkanizing Russia. All right? Let me go. I see a comment before it jumps. All right. Medi says Russia deployed both their Pacific and Atlantic fleets for these exercises. Yes. Yes, Medi. Yes. It says they are in position ahead of the West should war come. And not only Russia, but China too. China too. You know, and do you think that the demonstration of that 12,000 kilometer missile was an accident? And listen, all of that happened after those naval games, after those bombing patrols by both Russia and China, after those bombing patrols by Russia on America's western flank, after Russia. This happened all in the time when Russian President Vladimir Putin addressed the media, and I do believe that was a setup question by an outlet for him to respond and tell them that now, if you go ahead and do this now, that is our red line. Everybody's talking about our red line, and I'm paraphrasing, but I'm gonna give it to you the way that he really should have said it. You can go do this now. You can give them those strike weapons, and you can allow them to do that. But you're going to have to deal with the consequences and the repercussions of what comes with that. And if you're willing to pay that price, then so be it. But we just want to tell you up front that if this takes place, expect an immediate reprisal. And not just to the puppet, but we're going to hit out at the puppeteers. This made them reassess their position. If but for a moment, this made them, and I think this was a setup question for Russia to convey to the world just how serious it was about what the intransigence that Biden and the West continues to show towards its territorial integrity and its position as a nation. You know, I do believe that. Max Sparks says, my cash is on bricks. My cash is on God. God is going to do what he's going to do. And what he's going to do is break the power of the war maker. There can be no peace as long as the war maker reigns supreme. There can be no peace as long as the methods that brought about the wars are used to uphold the peace. For there to be peace, there must be a genuine move towards peace, not just by the people, but by the governments who govern the people. Therefore, we have seen in the West that there is no true desire for peace. The only peace that America, Britain, and NATO want is a piece of your land, a piece of your wealth, a piece of your resources, a piece of your brain power, and a piece of your earnings. That's the only piece that they have ever demonstrated that they want. But peace, the P-E-A-C-E, show me where they've demonstrated that at. I'm waiting. But I can show you where they demonstrated the P-I-E-C-E. You understand? Dolan says, don't think we don't have space-based weapons. You better believe it. They want this battle out of space. The final battle will be the great decisive battle in the sky. Why do you think they have put so much effort into 5th and 6th generation warplanes and hypersonic weapons? It's not for show. It's for that great decisive battle in the sky. No, but the problem today is this. America no longer has a monopoly on that. They have what she has, and in some cases, better weapons, better system suites. All right. They were on. There was a war game a few years back, right? And they were war gaming the J-10, right? The Chinese J-10, the Mighty Dragon. Right? I know the Mighty Dragon is the J-10. I mean J-20. But they were war gaming the Chinese J-10 warplane. And this was not the newer one, the J-10C. I think this was either the first one or the B, all right? And in this war game, the Chinese warplane killed the Typhoons, the French warplanes, the F-16s, the F-15s, the F-18s, and the what is that, Saab Gripen? I believe it's the Saab Gripen. I could be wrong. The Saab Gripen, I believe that's the name of that Swedish airplane, which is more advanced than the US F-16s. China had a 95 to 98% kill ratio, and the only thing, and this was a hypothetical, the only thing that leveled some of the playing field was when the United States brought in the F-22s. They had to bring in a 5th generation warplane to take on what they deemed as a 3rd generation fighter plane. That should show you the technological change and how China has leaped over the technological gap that had remained against America. As a matter of fact, let me share something with you all. I read a report last week. The new WS-15 Chinese engine that goes into the upgraded version of the J-20, okay, is more powerful than America's what is it, F-404 or 101 engines. They give more thrust than those. This was admitted by the West. Remember, just 5 years ago, they were saying that China has problems with their engines. That's why they have to buy all of them from Russia and make carbon copies, right? Remember that? Remember, that was 5 years ago. Now they're saying that the new Chinese WS-15 engine, not the WS-10, which they put into the J-10s, which is a powerful engine now, the upgraded version of it is. But I was reading that the new WS-15 has proven to have, I think, the U.S. engine did 30,000 tons of thrust, and the WS-15 gave 35 to 40,000 tons of thrust. This is according to the West. So now there's no engine gap. This is why America got an eye on China, because she's catching up and surpassing her in everything. everything that she once dominated in. Like I told you, she was going to catch up and surpass her in everything. Let me see. M Spark says America fake is a bully paper wool. Now listen, she still got listen, and all of this stuff here, she can still put it down. She can fight now. She can fight. She's just not heads and shoulders above everybody else no more. It's becoming a more level playing field. But don't get it twisted. The American empire still has some fight in her. She's no longer the undisputed champion. She's one of many champions now. But pretty soon she's going to lose the belt, the one belt that she now holds. She's going to lose that to the up-and-coming champion. Okay? I gave it a boxing analogy. So you guys have to excuse me on that. Ping says, settler colonizers. Ping, I don't know why you don't have a wrench. Settler colonizers are the worst. When I get these screens back up and running, I'll give you one. They are hypocrites. And he says, man, this thing is jumping. I'm gonna go. The chat jumping. Excuse me. So let me go to my dashboard, talk to you guys just for a second. Man, I didn't even, we've been on the air for almost an hour. As God is my witness, I didn't think, just like when I looked up and it was like 30 minutes, I was like, man, this cannot be true. But it is true. So we're going to do a few more minutes here, and then we're going to keep streaming over on Patreon. It'll be free. So you guys just switch the platforms and go there. Okay. So if for like a week or so I haven't streamed, you got to check the locals. Go to locals and sign up. Or you got to check the Twitter, or you got to check the Rumble, Odyssey, or Patreon. Because these people here, they're doing something to my channel still. And I got to use these other platforms. Check the BitChute too. I got to use the platforms that will allow me to talk. Because these people, they don't want the truth out. You know, so this is Mike Jones. I got to play this again because I want to, before I start talking about the dollar on the other end, we'll do 30 more minutes on Patreon, but 30 or 40 more minutes. But I've often heard this here, and I hear it in the mainstream media. I hear it in almost every alternative media, how they talk about European security as if Latin American security is unreasonable, or Central American security is unreasonable, or Caribbean security is unreasonable, or if African security is unreasonable, Asian security is unreasonable. All they ever talk about is the mantra of European security or the North Atlantic security arrangement. And then I pose the question to everybody. These are the people that are causing the world to be insecure, excuse me. Latin America is not pushing bases up to Spain. The Bahamas is not trying to invade Canada. South Africa is not trying to put a base next to the Vatican. I don't see Kazakhstan applying for a base in Australia. Does Pakistan have a base in London? Okay. Now let's flip this. Does Germany have bases over abroad? Yes. Where? Latin America. Oh, you didn't know that, did you? Do they have them in Africa? Yep. What about Italy? Yep. What about Canada? Yep. Freedom-loving Canada has bases in Africa. What about France? Yep. In the Asia Pacific, the Indian Ocean, Africa. As a matter of fact, France is so arrogant. Listen to this. There's an African island that is under French rule. They have it classified as European island. France says that's European territory. It's in Africa. I'm not lying. Google what I'm saying. What about the UK? The Malvinas Islands, down in Latin America, right off the coast of Venezuela, which is Argentina territory. The Malvinas Islands. So when we talk about European security, it is that mantra, that thought that keeps the world insecure, because nobody is building up to attack Europe or to attack America or to attack Australia or to attack New Zealand. It is the opposite. So when we look at the situation, the global climate, we have to look at it in an opposite way that the West is presenting it to us, because they have fashioned it in such a way that they make the aggressor the victim and the victims the aggressors. Only in the mind of the Bizarro people, the berserkers, are Syrian people, insurgents in Syria. Only in their mind, Afghans are terrorists and Islamic extremists in Afghanistan. America is freedom fighters. Britain is freedom fighters. NATO are freedom fighters in Afghanistan, in Syria, in Iraq. Bizarro world politics. So when they present this, and I think some of the alternative media, I think they do a good job, even though they still have a lot of vestige of Western imperialism in them. Like Mearsheimer, right? He is adamantly against, John Mearsheimer is adamantly against the war in Ukraine, right? But not for humanitarian reasons, even though he states it. It is so that the West, specifically and especially the United States, can then reposition and redeploy to the Asia Pacific in an effort to prevent China's breakout capacity of becoming the juggernaut in Asia. That's what he wants. It's not because stopping the war in Russia is the right thing to do. It is because they need to focus their energies and their weaponry and their troops in Asia to prevent China dominating the region. Well, China is an Asian nation. Why should America, 7,000 miles away, be able to dictate to the people in that region? And China has more of a vested interest and vested stake in Asia than the United States does. So why is that so wrong? Because China is a non-white, non-Western nation. You understand? Listen, we're going to continue this on at the other platform. I want you all to go over there right now. I want to thank every one of you for joining me on all the platforms that we're on right now. They're going to end. Locals has ended. Rumble is about to end. Salute to everybody on Rumble. Rumble is ending right now. What is this? Hold on one second. Hold on one second, everybody. I'm having problems with this, buddy. We gotta move. Odyssey has ended. So, all right, Odyssey has ended. I'm sorry, everybody. Rumble, this thing is messing up real quick. Rumble has ended. Let's see. This was ended on Twitter. And now, what in the world is going on? And now this will be ended on Twitch. And we're now ending it on YouTube. Go over to our place on Patreon and let's continue to cook. All right. Peace, everybody that's watching.